aspects of the graph. We're not going to do a lot of graphing, just a rough sketch, but we are going to list out some important information. So when we're talking about a quadratic, standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So just like we talked about standard form for any polynomial, highest power first, decreasing powers. So it's written like this. Quadratic, of course, the highest power is 2. When we graph these, the shape of it is always going to look like a U, and it is called a parabola. All right, so everybody grab a graphing calculator, and let's kind of test out what a couple of these look like. So we will rely on the calculators a lot in this unit to kind of help graph things.
Just say line graphing one or line graphing?
You'll want to graph it.
Okay, I thought so.
Okay, so on your graphing calculator, we're going to push this y equals button. And it's,
Oh.
and then if there's anything entered in there, clear it out. Just push clear enter and it'll go away. So it's already set up y equals, so we're going to type in the rest of this. So x squared, you have to use the x button here. The one that's highlighted in red.
Okay.
X squared.
What?
You guys are pushing buttons. It has the exact same buttons as mine. My calculator is a different color, but you have all the same buttons.
Yeah, but like, how'd you get?
Okay, go y equals. And it should take you to this screen. If you have stuff entered in there, just push clear enter, and it'll take it out. So does everybody just have a blank screen that looks like this? All right. So my cursor is up by the y1, and I'm going to graph this. So I'm going to type x, using this x button here, and then squared, so there's a little square button down here, plus 2, and back to my x button, minus 5. And then we're going to push graph. It should look like this. If yours does, all right, so we're just going to draw a rough sketch of this here. We're not getting too precise with our graphs today. So you notice this one, we just have this nice upward U. Now let's graph the second one. So go back to your y equals button. If you push clear enter, it'll take out everything that we entered. And now we're going to put in the new equation. Negative, make sure you use the negative, not the minus button. So negative is down at the bottom. X squared plus 3x plus 7. So this time, my graph turned. Why do you think this one is upside down and the other one wasn't? Mm-hmm. If your square term is negative, it will be upside down. If your square is positive, it will be right side up. All right, so let's fill that in. So if A is positive, A being the number in front of the x squared, the parabola opens up. If A is negative, then it opens down. All right, so we know a little bit now. We know what the equation of a parabola looks like. We know what makes it open up or down. two more aspects we're going to talk about today. Parabolas are the same on both sides. You have like a center point and it's equal on both sides of that. So that line that kind of goes through the middle has a name. It's called the axis of symmetry. Just like a line of symmetry is something that you can, it's the same on both sides. So that's the axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry is the vertical line that divides the parabola into two equal parts. To find the axis of symmetry, there is a formula. It's a line, so we have to do the equation. We know from earlier in the year, vertical lines are always x equals a number. And it's x equals the opposite of b over 2a. So we will be using that equation today. All right. The other thing we're going to talk about is the vertex. The vertex is the highest or lowest point on the graph. So it's kind of where we change direction. So vertex is the turning point of the parabola. If it's the lowest point on the graph, it's called a minimum. And if it is the highest point on the graph, we call it a maximum. All right. So that's kind of all the stuff we're going to use today. For our examples today, what we're going to do is take a quadratic equation and we are going to do three things. We're going to find the axis of symmetry, the vertex, and we're going to draw a rough sketch of our graph. So let's look at this first one. Y equals x squared plus 8x plus 15. So to find the axis of symmetry, it's x equals the opposite of b over 2a. Look at this equation. Remember I told you that a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. So what is a in this equation? Yeah, it's a number in front of our x squared, which if there's nothing there, it's just the 1. So it's just the number, not the variable part. What's my b? 8. It's a number in front of x. And c is the constant, which was 15. So if I want to find the axis of symmetry, the equation is the opposite of b. So the opposite of 8 would be negative 8. Over 2 times a. So we get negative 8 divided by 2, which is negative 4. So for the axis, since it is a line, you have to give me the full line. X equals negative 4. All right, the vertex is a point. It's an ordered pair. The x value of that ordered pair is the same as the axis of symmetry. So I already know x. If you know x, we just put it back into the equation to get our y. So my quadratic equation was x, so negative 4 squared, plus 8 times negative 4, plus 15. Is everybody with me there? And I don't really care if you work that out by hand or if you just want to plug it into your calculator, you have it in front of you, you're welcome to. I'm not going to judge. So you plug that in, and what do we get? What'd you say?
7.
No. You get negative. So, yeah, when you do this -4 squared, make sure you put the -4 in parentheses so when you square it, it becomes a positive. So we have a -4 to the second is 16. 8 times -4 is -32 plus 15. You're welcome to just put it all in. We get -1. So my vertex is -4, -1.
Oh, close.
All right, can you tell me, is this parabola going to open up or down?
No.
Up.
Up, because it's a positive x squared. So your sketch today, I am not going to make you do much in the way of like putting it on a regular graph. I want you to draw me an upward parabola. What is this point? That's the vertex. It's a minimum. And you could label that word a pair, -4, -1. The axis of symmetry is a vertical line that would go through it. So we just draw that as dashed. And the equation of that line was x equals -4. So today, we're just going to draw our parabola correctly facing up or down. Label your vertex with an ordered pair. Draw the axis of symmetry going through it and write the equation of that. Okay, just kind of help set us up for all the things that we will need later on for our graphs. All right. This is all we are doing today. So we're going to do some examples until you guys are comfortable with this, and then you can practice on your own. Okay? All right, so the next one. What is the A of this? -1. What's B? And what's C? So axis of symmetry is x equals the opposite of B, so the opposite of 10 over 2 times -1. So -10 divided by -2 is +5. So axis of symmetry, x equals 5. You have to give me the x equals. So what's the x value of my vertex? 5. How do we get the y? The equation. Okay, careful how we plug this in. It had a negative in front. That's like a -1, if that confuses you. So it's like -1 times 5 squared plus 10 times 5 minus 23. And if you prefer, you can put the entire thing in your calculator at once. You don't necessarily have to show me the work from how you get your calculations here. Totally up to you guys. What do you get? So my vertex is 5, 2. So when I graph this, is it facing up or down? Down, because it was a negative. This point right here is my vertex, which is 5, 2. The axis of symmetry we draw in as a dashed line, and let's just write the equation of that line underneath it. So that was x equals 5. Let's look at number 3. the number in front of x squared. So that is a 3. B is the number in front of x. Since it was a minus, that would be negative 12. And C is the constant, which was 5. Alright, does everybody understand how I get my A, B, and C? Okay, then we have a formula. It says the axis of symmetry is opposite of B over 2A. If you have a negative 12, what is the opposite of negative 12? Positive 12 over 2 times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So axis of symmetry, x equals 2. The vertex is an ordered pair. We've already found the x. We have to plug that x into the equation to get y. 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 5. And you're welcome to just put it in your calculator. I don't care. So you're putting that in and just telling me what it equals. Because the equation had a minus on the 12.
I don't know, it's just not maybe.
Like getting the calculator?
I don't know, so 2. But it like did up there.
Oh, we might have had the explanation. You're welcome to use the calculator you're used to for those. We only use this to look at a graph.
Okay.
So if you're used to using your own, that's
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We get negative 7. So on my graph, does it face up or down? Up. And I know that because this term is positive. So your graph, you're drawing me an upward parabola. You label this point with the ordered pair for your vertex, so 2, negative 7. And the axis of symmetry, we label that x equals 2. Let's look at I want to look at number 8, I think. What is my A, the number in front of x squared? 1. B, the number in front of x. There is no x, so it's a 0. And C is negative 3. So the axis of symmetry, the equation I gave you, was negative b over 2a, or the opposite of b over 2a. What is the opposite of 0? Still 0. Over 2 times a, and my a was 1. So we have 0 divided by 2, which is 0. So axis of symmetry, x equals 0. To find our vertex, we plug that into the original equation. So 0 squared minus 3. Woo. Vertex is the order pair 0, negative 3. Is my sketch upward or downward? Because you look at the x squared term. A positive is opening up, a negative is opening down. If you were really confused and couldn't figure it out, what could you do? Graph it. Graphing calculator. That's how we figured it out the first time. My vertex is that point 0, negative 3. Axis of symmetry. Draws your dash line and label f equals 0. How are we doing? Good. Do we need more practice?
Nope.
How do we get the vertex? Like,
Okay, the x value came from the axis of symmetry.
So whatever you get here is the first part of your order. Then you plug the x into your x in your equation. Whatever you get out is
so
your y.
since we had 0, went into the x.
Mhm.
Okay, and then what's the y? What's at the end? Like this?
Well, it just, y is whatever you get out from here.
But how do we get that?
So you know the x value here is 0. So when it finishes, so y is 0 squared.
Okay.
And then when you do the
And then
backwards,